Greetings and salutations, Dota fans. Welcome back to the viewers who waited through the break. And, of course, welcome in to everyone brand new joining us for our second series of the day. We've got our Cinderella story, Neolution.Thai Thailand, taking on Zenith. Now, the winner of this will advance to Phase 3. We've already got one winner in the books. That's LGD International, getting a very impressive win over VG Gaming in our first series of the day. Now, let's take a look at what we have ahead of us now. Zenith hitters play the hands-down favorite to advance out of this group, and for good reason. Under the stewardship of Ayesee, the team has become one of the most feared rosters on the planet, and one stacked with superstar talent in Ayesee and Yamate. However, doesn't mean that they don't have their weaknesses. Those who watched their first-round series against First Departure saw the team, along with our pulses, push to the limit in Game 1 of that series. Zenith, though, is one of those teams that feels nigh unstoppable once they find their rhythm. The sort of team that demands respect, demands a playstyle suited to knocking them out of that rhythm early, which is exactly the challenge the Neolution.Thai will face today. Now, in the immortal words of the philosopher Carl Spackler, Neolution.Thai enters play today a Cinderella story. The Cinderella boys, from out of nowhere, riding high on a huge wave of momentum following their stunning win over Tongfu in Round 1 of Phase 2. Adding the former international competitors to their kill list was no small feat, but now they face the greatest challenge they most likely have in their young careers. In their series against Tongfu, Neolution.Thai showed proficiency in applying frantic pressure all over the map while still maintaining defensive cohesion and solid communication. They'll need to draw on those skills once again here today to have a real shot at taking Zenith out of their comfort zone and walking away with the win, having stunned the world by upsetting this fantastic squad. So, all that out of the way, how about we talk about the bans, the picks, get ahead to the Dota right in front of our faces. Bad Rider and Lone Druid, the bans out from Neolution.Thai, as well as Zenith taking out the Keeper of the Light and the Lifestealer. That's going to allow Nyx Assassin to slide his way through. So a lot of high-value picks available. Magnus going to be the decision out of Neolution, and I'm actually stunned. I am truly stunned that they did not pick a Queen of Pain here. And I do mean literally stunned. And if you didn't catch Neolution Thailand's win over Tongfu a couple of days ago, go back and watch it, and you will be stunned as well. Teletubby. Or excuse me, not Teletubby, but yeah, I want to say that too. I want to say that was the name he was playing under. All of a sudden, my brain's quit working. But Neolution.Thai had a fantastic Queen of Pain player, and really, that's a hero that I think they could put to some really good use if they really wanted to. A little surprised again that she's not picked up here. You might be looking for her to slide down in that third slot. Zenith looking to complete their first 3 to pair a couple with the Nyx Assassin. Magnus and Rubik, 2 extremely strong pickups. Wide open drafting so far out of both sides, and we'll see what Zenith wants to follow up the Nyx Assassin with. But I really like picking up the Magnus and the Rubik. Those are 2 heroes that can run and do just about anything you need them to. They both function well out of an offensive and a defensive tri-lane. Well, I should say Rubik does. Magnus really craves a solo lane. He needs to be in a one-on-one situation if you can make that happen at all. But he can do things like even run a solo long lane, solo safe lane. Hell, I've even seen Magnuses take solo safe lane farm before. So it's not something completely out of the question. Tinker and Darkseer are going to be picked up by Zenith. Still, their options wide open. Tinker, usually you want to see a Tinker get his start in mid, get some early levels, and get on his way to some early boots of travel, and just start kitting himself up based on what the team, the enemy team has to offer. And that's really one of the strengths of Tinker in general as a hero, is the fact that you can just kind of custom make him each and every time you play him based on what the team needs the most. Most of the time, you're going to see some obvious items. I mean, Soul Ring, straight up to boots of travel, and then sometimes you'll even see things like Scythe of Ice is probably the single most typical item on a Tinker, just because once he gets into the late game, his mana problems are solved, and he can just chain Scythe anyone that he gets his hands on. But then you have options like Dagon. Do you go a Blink Dagger for the extra mobility? You know, how do you build him skill-wise? Do you max March of the Machines, which many players like to do? Or do you play him as a flat-out gank machine instead of a push and anti-push machine by maxing your laser and rocket? So a very wide-open hero and a very wide-open lineup. Anti-Mage, not quite as wide open. He kind of does what he does, which is farm and farm quickly and look to hit a timing window in the late game. But the mid-game Anti-Mage is making a return, man. I've been seeing more and more of it. And we'll see if maybe that's going to be the approach taken here today. And I actually saw, for the first time in a while, a mid-game Anti-Mage built that went Treads Vanguard. I haven't seen that since before the International, too. And I mean, hell, to be honest, I haven't seen that since I started really broadcasting Dota way back in the day, back when the hero pool was about half the size it is now. But anyway, We're going to see some team fight banned out here by Zenith, so they're going to be looking to apply pressure in a much more surgical way, look to probably split push behind the power of a Darkseer and a Tinker. Taking out the Enigma and the Tidehunter, don't mind that at all, especially given that they already have a Magnus on the other side. You don't want to allow that synergy to take place, especially given that they have a Rubik as well. So anything you pick to try and deal with it is liable to be turned against you if you're not careful. And Black Hole and Ravage, two big game-changing abilities that would really work well in securing Anti-Mage a little bit of time to farm. And that's really what you see most teams do when they draft an Anti-Mage, is they're going to be able to do some things with him. His mobility allows him to take a lot more risks than a lot of other main agility carries, well, late-game agility carries, I should say. He's able to split push just really, really balls out because his blink is going to give him the escape mechanism he needs 9 times out of 10. And, I mean, it's really... When you look at the lineup they already have, Rubik is going to be is more or less known as more of a defensive support than he is an offensive support. Doesn't mean he can't be played offensively, and we'll get into that in a bit once we see the draft continue to wind its way out. But where an Anti-Mage wants to be is have a nice core of 4 other heroes on his team that are going to be able to function without him for a while. And again, you can do things like get an early Vlads, get an early Vanguard, even hell, you can even get drums on him if you really want to, just to help him tank up, get some stat gain for a relatively low price. And then you can start to take fights early, and it's real easy to transition from that into a late-game-oriented build, just having skip Battle Fury entirely, which is, of course, the single most common item on Anti-Mages at any level of play. But if you do want to take that ultra-late-game approach, if you have heroes like a Magnus, especially if you have a hero like Zenith is banned down, and I'm kind of just going off on this tangent to explain why so much attention was given to additional team fight from Zenith when they already had the Magnus. If you have an Enigma, a Tidehunter, a Puck, heroes like that, I really like the Puck band as well, just because that hero has a lot of reach and because Dream Coil can set up some amazing reverse polarities if Puck is willing to pull the trigger in an optimum situation. But if you have one of those heroes paired up with a Magnus and another solid support like Rubik, you wind up in a situation where you want to fight and push towers, and you can do so, but it's not without major risks, and meanwhile the Anti-Mage is either split pushing your tower elsewhere on the map, or he's just free farming the jungle once he gets up a quick Battle Fury or whatever else they want to build. We can see the Neolution.Thai taking out the Lycan as well as the Luna. I think that kind of jives with what I was talking about so far as the push potential they're going to have. They're going to be able to play a much more surgical game with a Tinker, Darkseer, and a Nyx Assassin, Luna, and Lycan, 2 carries that have late-game potential, have mid-game potential even, but can split push really well depending on how you want to build her. And Gyrocopter is actually another hero that fits that mold extremely well as well. So given that they were looking to take that out of the equation, I'm actually a little surprised they would ban a Lycan over a Gyro. Gyro just an insanely versatile hero who can bring a lot to the table at any stage of the game. Rocket Barrage is an unbelievably high damage spell. Once it's maxed out, 690 damage done to a single target if you have maxed Rocket Barrage. Flat Cannon and Call Down make it extremely easy to push and try to take fights under towers. So that's going to suit Zenith quite well. Now, the way they're going to lane this is still a little bit open. They actually have the choice to offensively try lane if they want to, and it looks like Neolution.Thai had that in mind, picking up another support. And I've had this, I've gone through this a couple of times at a couple of other streams. Shadow Demon and Rubik are very similar in the fact that both heroes are traditionally known as defensive supports. They're supports that make it really hard to engage into them and whoever happens to be around them. But one reason I think both of those heroes have really reached Tier 1 status for most teams and in most tournaments in terms of drafting is because they both have the ability to flip a switch, and with 1 or 2 items or just simply with the right personnel around them, they can be played extremely offensively. It's very easy to get a good fight going with a disruption. It's very easy to get a pick off whenever you have Rubik ready to telekinese any target that comes a little bit too far forward. But all of those spells that Neolution is going to be relying on, they're going to have to contend with 6 seconds of shh coming out of the Silencer. Silencer I've seen a number of times. He's a hero that, since coming back into Captain's mode, there's been a lot of debate, no matter where you look. Doesn't matter if it's North America, Europe, Asia, what have you, as to just how viable that hero is and where he can really effectively lane. And he would seem to be a lane support here, supporting the Gyro along with the Nyx Assassin. They actually still can, if they really want to, try to run an offensive tri-lane. But running that tri-lane against the Rubik and a Shadow Demon and an Anti-Mage would be a little chancy. It would be a little chancy. Getting a pick-off on an Anti-Mage hard under the best of circumstances and having those 2 defensive supports ready to bail AM out. And all it'll take is 1 disruption. It doesn't matter how dead to rights AM is. If he can be disrupted, it's going to give him plenty of time to get the perfect blink off as soon as it wears off. And Neolution Esports going to pick up a Nature's Prophet to round out their lineup. I'd say it's about as cookie-cutter a lineup as you're going to see. Trialing with Rubik, Shadow Demon, and Anti-Mage. As anticipated, Magnus should find himself in mid. And Prophet is likely to either show up in the off lane or, at the very least, just sack the off lane and make his way to the jungle early on and just leave an entirely free and open lane for Zenith to take advantage of. So far as Zenith, I'd say it looks pretty even to them, too. They could offensively tri-lane and then run a solo safe lane Tinker with Darkseer mid, or they could just play it safe and just try to farm the gyro out of a defensive tri-lane. In that case, we'd probably see the Darkseer either find himself in the woods or in the off-lane himself with the Tinker going mid. Up against the Magnus, Tinker really doesn't have a whole lot that he needs to worry that much about. So, you know, again, both teams, I feel, have a lot of options open to them. We're going to have our traditional early game pause. Pretty typical to just have pauses in most competitive tournaments just as soon as the game loads in. So while I have a chance, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me here on this Monday morning, or I guess it could be evening or afternoon if you're in Europe. Then it's probably about your lunch hour, and I want to thank you for spending that time with me. If you're out in Asia, anywhere from 7 to 10 o'clock most likely. Hell, it could even be later no matter where you are. But thank you guys for being a part of this stream and for supporting us and, of course, supporting the G1 League. If you want to get more info on G1, just head to G-1.2p.com, and you can find our coverage hub. You can find all of your caster information, no matter what your language or stream preference happens to be. They got interviews, they've got articles, and a lot of fun ways to interact with us in terms of Twitter. There's a live Twitter feed, and we do check and answer, at least I try to, as much as I can in between games and during downtime, so would absolutely love it if you guys would check it out. Bookmark it. It's a great way to start your day. And if you're like me and you start your day at 3 a.m. because you love Asian Dota that much. But no matter what, it's a good way to keep up with what's going on here at G1. And we've still got so much more ahead of us. It really just boggles the mind how much more good Dota I get to broadcast. And I'm very thankful to the G1 staff, to Felix, to Chen, to Tusky, to, of course, the BTS guys who had no problem with me coming on. Very thankful for this opportunity. And hope you guys are going to enjoy it as much as I am. So make sure you hit follow here on One More Game TV, too. We'd love to have you back in for every future broadcast, not just for G1, but for the D2L and everything else we do here on One More Game TV, too. If you do want to interact with me on Twitter, you can find me on Twitter at Ayesee, that's at AYESEE, and on Twitch, if you want to check out my personal streaming account, it's twitch.tv/ACTV, AYESEE TV. Now, in all fairness, I don't use that account all that much. I do most of my tournament broadcasting here on One More Game TV, too. But in the future, I do intend to, at some point, hopefully, begin putting that account to some better use. Would like to set up a subscription system at some point. That way I could hang out with you guys and have some very fun subscriber-only events. And hopefully we'll be able to make that happen. But for right now, what I'd like to focus on is the Cinderella story. The Cinderella story. And those who get that joke, by the way, +1 to you. If you don't get the Caddyshack reference, then I don't know that we can be friends, really. Like I really, it makes me question. Makes me question your motives. Makes me question your character. Hate to be judgmental, but hey, you don't know Caddyshack, you're missing out. You are missing out. So, how about we take a look at our lineup, see who's going to be running on who. It looks like, yeah, they're both teams just going to be playing it very passively earlier on. We're going to have Freedom handling our silencer this time around. Nyx Assassin will be played by Ice. Other than GG. Okay, I'm going to guess that means no talking. That means shh, shh. Silencer can get behind that. Ice will be playing on our Nyx Assassin. Gyrocopter will be played by NWP. Gonna have Ice Cubed handling our Darkseer. He's setting up shop in the off lane as anticipated. Looks like Tinker will be taken mid by XY, who will be playing our short little half mechanical dude. We've got our Ghetto Rubik walking around in his hoodie. Knocks him on the side of Neolution. Looking to rob a liquor store and play Rubik at the same time. We've got Upper playing on our Shadow Demon. Nature's Prophet will be handled by KYT. Still just kind of hanging out. Back at the base, you know what? Sick of chasing his dreams. He's just going to catch up with him later. We've got Kosing Kapoy. I'm going to guess that's Teletubby, but I'll call him by whatever name he uses. Kosing handling our Magnus this time around. And Entresso going to be playing on our Anti-Mage. All right. The lane's taking shape and should be a pretty passive affair early on. I really don't envision a whole lot of action taking place anytime soon with this being the status quo. Both teams just looking to get off to as good a start as they can. Ice. Gonna be soaking experience and Ion shelling some creeps as much as he can, trying to deny Anti-Mage, but for the most part, Anti-Mage should have no problem getting a solid amount of farm. Noxum already setting up shop next to the Ancients, perhaps looking to stack them. One would imagine that's going to be the case. They're still... Yep, there they go. Finally found the pesky ward that was messing with the pull camp. Nope, Noxum is going to go ahead and bail out. Thought he might just go ahead and stack while he was there. We can already see 2 wards keeping a nice close eye on that Ancient stack, or that Ancient spawn, I should say more accurately. And we are going to have a disruption on the Darkseer. Ice, though. Not really under any threat. And knows it. Not even going to spend a surge. So, yeah. Settle in. And I'll be honest, I don't think this really suits Neolution at all. And I like this out of Noxum. Oh, here comes the courier. Oh, it's flying. They just upgraded it. Noxum hanging around looking for a courier snipe. Knows the bottle's going to be coming out. He's going to see the courier, but... Yep, it's flying. Can't do anything. And I've seen that a couple of times, actually. It is one of the more cheeky plays you can make, and it's so easy to do if the enemy team falls asleep at the wheel, if they decide not to upgrade their courier to flying before that bottle heads out to the mid-hero. Very easy to sneak your way up and get a courier snipe just by hanging right here. And if that little courier slowly waddles his way down, one auto attack, and you've got a dead courier. It's a great way to get a start. But more importantly for a hero, especially like Tinker, if you're able to get that courier snipe, it bones his ability to really have any concerted sustain, because the bottle is then delayed 3 minutes. So it's just, I like the play, just a shame it didn't work out for them. Now, I am not rooting for Neolution Thailand, okay? I'm not. I'm an unbiased caster. But it doesn't mean that I don't want to see good plays. Speaking of good plays, Ice, going to surge, take a little bit extra damage, but should be in good shape. Now we're going to have Nature's Prophet. Think about heading that way. Thinks better of it, though, and backs out. Here in mid, Magnus and Tinker going blow for blow. Magnus has, yeah, he's right there with him. 11 last hits apiece, so... Kosing getting off to a pretty solid start, and that's very important for this lineup. Given the lineup they have and the fact that, and it's really going to come down to what the Anti-Mage decides to build first. And more than likely going to get up a Ring of Health, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to build it into a Battle Fury. I got faked out by an Anti-Mage just the other day who did that. Built a Ring of Health, and I start sounding all smart and I imagine, but obviously, it's going to be the Anti-Mage build. Obviously, that's what's coming. Nope, Vanguard. And it blew my mind. In fact, still pieces of my brain laying around because of that, because I hadn't seen that in many, many months. But we'll keep an eye on Intresso. It does pick up his Ring of Health. Down here in the bottom lane, we can see level 2, Silencer, Nyx Assassin, Gyro soaking up the lion's share of the experience. Shadow Demons, level 3, poor Rubik hanging out, level 1. Can't get a boy from the ghetto, no help, no waves. And here's a skewer. He's actually got a double damage. This is problematic. Here comes the TP. Shockwave's going to be there. Can they do it? Oh, no! 20 hit points, almost putting first blood on the board. Ice has made his way over. And will be there to help his buddy out. And, yeah, that was very, very close. Very close. We can see Bottle crowing, and that was an opportune moment. That was just really good play out of Magnus in mid, recognizing he didn't have the bottle in his inventory. He had just crowed it, and he had an opportunity, and he took it. He almost got a first blood, too. And now Ice is going to be able to steal this illusion rune from Magnus, no problem. And still, no kills on the board 4 minutes into this game. Taking a look at the general last hits across the spectrum. NWP doing quite a good job on Gyrocopter. He leads all farmers at 31, 26 for Anti-Mage, not shabby at all. I'm actually a little surprised that Anti-Mage isn't doing a little bit better. Magnus is right behind him and Tinker at 18. And in that mid-30s range is really where he should be. Now we're going to have a gank attempt upper. Gets off the Soul Catcher after the disruption. Now the telekinesis. Can they get the damage done fast enough? They throw him to the low ground. And yeah, he's blocked out here. Magnus is right there lining up. Oh, he guesses wrong on the shockwave. Oh, no! Oh, he stutter stepped the auto attack. Oh, upper, what did you do? XY for the second time in as many minutes. Walks between the raindrops and gets a little help. Oh, wow. Very, very fortunate. And that's one of those things I'd have to see it from the player's point of view to see if it was intentional, or if it was a vision thing or what. But he was winding up, no doubt, for an auto attack. No doubt about it. And canceled it. Or it canceled itself, depending on what caused that. As is Anti-Mage, sitting on his Ring of Health. Looks like he's going to be heading the direction of a Battle Fury, but Zenith heading the direction of north as they are just beginning to take towers. Already took down the tier 1 bottom. And now going to work on the tier 2. That tier 2 is already down to half. And there's still no movement out of Neolution. This is a little shocking, actually. This is not a situation they want to be in, because what NWP is going to be able to do now is rush out a Shadow Blade and go for a mid-game build and just go ahead and capitalize on the fact that Anti-Mage, if he does go Battle Fury, is not really going to be able to fight anytime soon. He's got 1,400 gold in the big. We'll see if Claymore is going to be the next pickup. But, yeah, I'm a little stunned here that they just gave away two towers at less than 6 minutes. Now, the one good thing they do have going for them, and Freedom actually just spotted that courier. Oh, the courier's right there. Nope, not going to be able to get it. The one good thing they do have going for them, and by they, I mean Neolution, is that a lot of times when you take 2 quick towers like that, that lane should stay sucked back for whoever they want to be farming it forever. Like, this should just stay way far back, and it should be something that the Prophet, for example, can farm continuously so long as he freeze farms it. And that puts the onus on Zenith to make things happen elsewhere. And that's easy to abuse when you know the other team is under the gun to take advantage of the map control they've just won. Otherwise, they end up just giving away a free farm lane. You can sometimes catch them playing a little too aggressive. And they have a good team for that. With the Magnus, with the Rubik, with the mobility, the global presence of the Nature's Prophet. But Zenith is not willing to back off. Aquile, the choice for NWP now. And he's going to go ahead and back off. He has forced a somewhat of a reaction. Magnus is making his way up now. And Ice is actually getting just fine farm at bottom lane. Yeah, here comes Prophet. Prophet's actually going back to the woods. That's a little surprising. And they're going to be able to slow push this tower and force a fight. Anti-Mage has picked up his Perseverance, so it will be a Battle Fury build. He's in great shape. He's the #1 farmer on the board now since NWP started his push along with the rest of his team and started to move around. So, I mean, 50 last hits at 8 minutes is excellent. It's absolutely excellent. And that tower, though, just being whittled down. They have 3 here to defend against the 3 of Zenith. Zenith, though, level 6. Level 6 are going to have Call Down. They're going to have Silence. Nope, level 4. On the Silencer, level 4 Shadow Demon. Level 3, level 7. So, all things being equal, going to be very hard for Neolution to stand up to this. And yeah, that should be enough to really ward them off of it. Noxum comes on in, trying to help keep that tower alive, at least temporarily. In the meantime, Tinker is closing in on his boots of travel. You should have them up basically in a couple of last hits, so no problem there. And that's really where they're going to start to capitalize on their composition. And they'll be able to do stuff like this. And here comes Upper. He's just going to YOLO and walks in. He's down to half health after that cast. Silencer doing damage from the side. Here comes the Prophet ulti. And that's 2 having to pull back with almost no health. And Tresso's going to pursue this out. And here comes Magnus, going to whiff, but may have a chance. Cooldown's going to whiff as well. No, actually, Magnus went back into it. Rocket Barrage doing good damage, spits the RP, but Freedom gets the kill. Mana Void does good damage, but not enough damage. And Tresso has no health left. Can he catch him? He can. That's a double kill coming out from NWP. Make it 3-0 in favor of Zenith. And now things might be a little troublesome. The broadsword picked up on Anti-Mage before he died, so at least he spent his gold. But you've already lost 2 towers. You're very likely to lose this top tier 1 very soon. That's going to put Gyro very close. Yep, he is going to be going for the Shadow Blade like I thought he would. This makes so much sense. It makes an absurd amount of sense. Because right now, Neolution's entire lineup until Anti-Mage has any ability to fight at all, and he has committed to the Battle Fury. You get a Perseverance up, there's no going back. You go Battle Fury and just say the hell with it. What happens, happens. Let the skies fall. But going with a mid-game centric kind of an approach like this, having the bonus damage that's going to come from the Shadow Blade, the inherent mobility, the bonus attack damage and all that, that's fine. But when you look in particular at Neolution's entire team, how in the hell are they going to fight without abilities? They are completely all in on spells like Disruption, Soul Catcher, on Rubik being able to steal a high-value spell, and on the ability of Prophet the TPN. So if they decide to take a fight and they see an opening, Silencer, who should be 6 now, yeah, just hit 6. Silencer's going to be able to use his ult, and there will be nothing that Neolution can do about it. And they're going to be able to do that, like, right now if they want. That Shadow Blade is not far away. That Shadow Blade will be out in, yeah, he's more than 3/4 of the way to it now. Only needs about another 800 gold, and that Shadow Blade is done. He'll have that up at 12 minutes. At 12 minutes at least. Taking a look, and Ice will be the carrier of the mechanism. Magnus trying to be brave. But they do take that tier 1. Oh, Magnus. Oh, Magnus. Boom. Follow-up Impale. Let's see if Ice can get the damage done. RP spin. Use it or lose it. And Prophet's ult goes off. That's disappointing. See Ice walk away if you're Neolution.Thai. And Cinderella quickly finding that maybe that glass slipper chafes a little bit more than she thought. Zenith playing an excellent game of Dota so far. Lead this series 4-0. 5,000 gold the advantage, 4,000 the experience as we speak. And Tresso still doesn't have his Battle Fury, but that's not saying a whole lot given it is just 12 minutes, not even 12 minutes into this game. He will have it up in very due course. He will have it up about 15 minutes if he is left to his devices, so it will not be a horrible time on that item. But the problem is, like right now is when you want to start maybe feeling pressure on your first tier 2. They've already lost the tier 2. And map control 100% in Zenith's favor. And what Zenith's going to be able to do here is just move into this Radiant jungle at one point or another and keep the Anti-Mage from farming. They're going to start running together in bigger groups. They're going to use that surgical precision and mobility. And when they do, Anti-Mage is going to have a harder time finding his farm, especially with this. I mean, this tier 2 is probably going to be the next major target. Still have the tier 1 mid, so they've got that going for them. To once again quote the philosopher Karl Spackler. But for now, Zenith in great shape. Now, when you're talking late game carry potential, Anti-Mage obviously has the trump card here. He'll skip BKB, obviously, in this situation, and just rely on Empower to allow him to not only be Anti-Mage, but to be Anti-Mage plus Magnus. And he will just be blowing fools up. But he has to get there first. It's like driving to Miami. If you've ever driven to Miami, you'll get that. Doesn't matter where you're coming from. It's like you hit the Florida border, and you're driving to Miami. You go, all right, we're in Florida. How much further? 600 miles. Not quite that much, but it feels that way. Anyway, Noxum's going to eat a laser, and here's Ice. Oh, there's the silence. Beautifully timed. Beautifully timed. The follow-up vacuum. Upper can do nothing but run. Noxum's actually lucky he survived there as well. And Tresso being forced to fight when he does not want to fight. And March of the Machines hurts a bunch. Good impale from Ice. Down he goes. That's going to make it 6-0. And Zenith so far, 13.5 minutes into this game, is hanging a bagel on Neolution Orange. This should be the end of this tier 1. Mechanism now complete on Ice. And Neolution. And I kind of touched on this, and granted, it is just my opinion, so take it with a grain of salt. But during the pregame or during the draft, I try to do some analysis and put some things into context just by introducing both teams. And I threw in a little analysis early in that, talking about Neolution needing to take Zenith out of their rhythm. This is what happens when Zenith is left to their own devices and is able to set the pace of the game and define the rhythm of the game. This is exactly what happens. They just fall into a rhythm, and that rhythm tends to be a funeral dirge if you're on the other side. 14 minutes in, 6 kills on the board. Every one of them belongs to Zenith. Thailand. Neolution, I should say Thailand. Getting past Tongfu to reach this point. Now realizing that Tongfu is a good win. Zenith, a different story altogether. Blink Dagger was the choice on XY. The mobility build makes a ton of sense here. And they're going to be able to abuse that quite a bit. The mobility that they're beginning to build into their team, between the Blink Dagger, the Shadow Blade, on Gyrocopter, who's also going for a BKB now. I like this choice a lot. 9 times out of 10, or at least in my experience, whenever I've seen Gyrocopters go with an Aquila straight up to a Shadow Blade, they'll just commit to going a pure damage build. Prophet will be able to make it away. But they'll just commit to a full damage build and then immediately rush out something like an MKB or a Daedalus. But getting the BKB up straight away, going to give them that much more survivability, and is yet another way that they can negate a lineup that, until Anti-Mage gets himself farmed, is 100% dependent on spells. Magnus spots out Freedom, and Freedom Makes it back under his tower. Pings aplenty coming off of both teams. And there we go, a little rocket spam. And Ice going to spot out Nox, and there's telekinesis. There goes the curse. Oh, what a vacuum! Caught 3! Rockets are there to help clean it up. They lose 2 more. The disruption on Ice comes to no avail. 8-0. The gold up in that 5-figure range. Not quite 500 or 1,000 gold a minute lead generated so far, but about that. 750, give or take. Experience is very close to that as well. Silencer's going to be getting himself a 4-staff, it would seem. NWP has got something on the way to him. It's going to be his Mithril Hammer. Does not have the recipe for the BKB up quite yet. I just noticed he's got 2 magic wands. He has 2 magic wands, or magic sticks. I didn't even know you could do this. I'm going to think, okay, he's got 4 charges on one. Do they both gain charges? If they do, that is awesome. I seriously had no idea that that's worked that way. Anyway. Zenith looking to clear another tower. Rattling their saber here in mid lane. KYT. Spotted out. They saw him go by. They have a very well-placed ward. The Anti-Mage still doesn't have his Battle Fury. That hurts. Still doesn't have his Battle Fury. And again, it's 17 minutes, so it's not like, oh, game's over, 30-minute Battle Fury, GG. It's not that. It's that they are so reliant on him being able to fight quickly. And once he had his Perseverance up, he was committed to that item. KYT will be killed off. No reason to get excited for what is essentially a beatdown. But they're so reliant on him to give their team any kind of punch. And Neolution, with an excellent team that does a lot of things well, but standing up to the pressure that Zenith can bring to bear with the pure AoE potential, the global silence of freedom, the mass single target damage that Ice can pour on, and a Gyrocopter who is in fantastic shape, sitting at 119 last hits. They're just going to go on Entresso. Entresso finally has that Battle Fury up. And just look at the damage. Now he's going to run. Nyx is there. Beautiful follow-up. That'll be that. Anti-Mage dies again. And this is honestly reaching a point that I don't know that they can actually come back. If it was just the Gyro they had to worry about, then maybe. But Tinker is actually right up there with him. Take a look at the net worth. Yeah. 3 of the top 4 all belong to Zenith. And Nature's Prophet is actually the highest net worth on the entire team for Neolution right now. He's working on a Scythe of Ice. He did go Midas first. Saw that, didn't really mention it. BKB is complete on MWP whenever he wants it. He's got more than enough gold for it now. And they're just going to go ahead and begin pressuring this tier 2 top. KYT. Holla, holla, get dollar. Going back to work, trying to get up some items that'll help his team out. They don't have a mech yet. They don't even have a mech started, to the best of my knowledge. And no, they don't. Poor Entresso running around, and shoes a bit too small for him. And now the tier 2 top going to be the target. Ice actually picked up a Vanguard. I'm surprised in that. I'm not the biggest fan of Vanguard on Darkseer, to be honest. Much more efficient 9 times out of 10 to put that cost towards a pipe. But it makes sense in this situation. Far be it for me, a lowly English caster, to question the legend that is Ice Cubed. Vanguard against their team, because I mean their team has a lot of abilities, but not many big nukes. And there's the silence, and Tresso unable to blink away. In WP there with XY, and they're taking the back path. Can he get the damage done? He's got a blink dagger, and yep, spotted out. See you, Tresso. And I actually wouldn't be surprised if they called GG soon. You can't have an Anti-Mage this far behind. 20 minutes in, has his Battle Fury, but the rest of Zenith is just so many light years ahead. The Darkseer is more farmed than the Anti-Mage right now. And the net worth of both Tinker and the Gyrocopter is double that of Anti-Mage. Take a look at the GPM. No surprise. The Anti-Mage has less than the Prophet, less than the Darkseer, and it's almost doubled by the Gyro once again. And WP going to work with that flat cannon, looking to clear some space and begin to take down this last remaining outer tier tower. We're 20 minutes in. And, yep, Nick's just going to go, oh, what a vacuum into the cooldown! Easiest 3 kills of their lives. BKB more in celebration than necessity, I think. At WP. Hits the call down courtesy of Ayesee. And as much as I love the Cinderella story, not looking like it's in great shape to continue. They still have a game 2, but this game is, for all intents and purposes, over. Zenith has played an excellent game of Dota. They have maximized their team potential, and they've done it without pressing. And I think, again, it comes back to what I was talking about during the draft. Zenith is not a team that you want to let dictate the pace of a game. And when you pick an anti-mage, unless you have some high-pressure heroes picked as his other 4, which they did, kinda. I mean, you had global mobility in the Prophet. You had the offensive potential in a Rubik and a Shadow Demon. But you don't want to pick a Rubik and a Shadow Demon and then just go, okay, let's just all stay on our side of the river, and we'll just let mid be the only lane that's actually contested. And we'll just do it that way. Zenith will abuse you that way. Zenith is a team stacked with superstar talent, and who is going to be able to abuse any sort of a decision to do that. And there we go. There's a vacuum. KYT not going to be making it back home, at least not the way he wants to go home. 22 minutes, 15 kills, and beginning to reach the point where you have to look at it and go, okay, guys, just let's move on. This has got to be a rough loss for Neolution. And at a certain point, it's got to start to damage your ability to function well. It's got to damage your morale, your esprit de corps. And Zenith looking to make it a true whitewash. They're going to move on in, and here we go. Tinker moves in, and what did he get? Looks like he got March. He did. Getting March, one of the better spells to get. But just look at how much damage Flat Cannon's doing. March going to make it a little bit more difficult, but yeah. Butterfly on the way, or is going to be the choice. The Eagle song already in our Gyrocopter's inventory. And now going to work on the range tracks. And what can they even do here? Let's say Magnus hits a reverse polarity. Where's the damage going to come from? And Tresso finally has himself a set of boots. Doesn't help a whole lot whenever you've got a Gyrocopter who is 4-shotting supports because of Flat Cannon. And here comes XY back to the fight. Slap fight, slap fight, slap fight, slap fight. Slap fight, slap fight, fight, slap fight. Looks like, you ever go to a Little League game? And there's like 55 kids on each team because you never want to cut a kid from Little League, and then at the end they all have to walk off and slap fives as they walk off the field. That's exactly what that was right there. KYT isolated and blown up. Still no kills. That's just mean, Tinker. It's just mean. Have some class, man. Act like you've been there before. And Tresso, poor guy. Had a good start, or had a decent-ish start. Fell a little bit behind in farm, I think, early, but made up ground well. But, yeah, getting a little bit out of control now. We're gonna have, very soon, we're gonna have a butterfly up on our Gyrocopter. Neolution gonna smoke up. The patented Desperation Smoke, and Magnus gonna find himself a target. Can they get a kill? They will! Not gonna be whitewashed. Here comes the reprisal, though. Call down's gonna catch a couple. Silence does expire, but go next. Yep, GG. I think I know what they were doing now. They didn't want to lose this game without a kill. That's what it was. As soon as they got the kill, they called GG. They did not want to go out without having put a kill on the board. That's all that was. I like it. I like it, guys. Obviously, I don't like that you got beat 18-1, but I like the fact that you're willing to man mode it. You're willing to suck it up until you get one kill as a point of pride. I absolutely love it. There goes the Ancient. And yeah, I think you can pretty well sum that up by saying it was an okay win. Zenith did all right. Slamming the door in 24 minutes and 50 seconds. The official game time, 18-1. It was 1, not 0, 18-1. Neolution drops game number 1. Zenith 1 game away from punching their ticket to Phase 3. Our Cinderellas looking to hopefully find a dress that fits a little bit better in Game 2. They're going to have to put 2 together in a row if they want to continue their fairy tale story. Zenith, though, the wicked witches of the fairy tale, looking to bring it to an end. I'm Ayesee. You're on One More Game TV 2. Make sure you hit follow and make sure you stick around. We're back in about 5 for Game 2 of this best of 3. See you soon.